Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On College Football. Kyle Whittingham, head coach at Utah, joins 365 Sports during Big 12 Media Days and says that he expects for there to be two super conferences, the Big Ten, the SEC. They will likely leave the NCAA, create their own playoff, and do it themselves. Crazy Uncle Kyle says a lot of things a lot of the time. Before we even dissect that, I think the first domino that would have to fall is Clemson and Florida State joining the Big Ten or the SEC. We've heard in the last 2 weeks from different random people on Twitter that those two leagues are not interested. You're sitting at Big Ten Media Days right now. How much do you make of that rumor that those two conferences don't want those two schools?
Yeah, I'm here this week in Indianapolis. I was in Dallas last week for SEC Media Days and heard in person almost identical answers from the two conference commissioners, Greg Sankey of the SEC, Tony Petitti of the Big Ten, who I think are both well-spoken, intelligent guys who are also incredibly thoughtful with their words. This is not anything new. I think Brett Yormark is certainly thoughtful with his words, but has a little bit more of kind of an aggressive mentality, attacking feel. But the line that we got from the Big Ten and SEC commissioners is we are focused on our insert number members. So for the SEC, it's we're focused on our 16 members. For Tony Petitti, it's we're focused on our 18 members. Now, I also asked Tony Petitti about the criteria for expansion, what he and the presidents look at when considering adding a school, not just a team, but a school to the conference. Because remember, presidents vote on realignment. It's going on my gravestone one day, so I might as well repeat it ad nauseum until that time, which is hopefully a long, long ways in the future, because I had fun here this week and I want to go back. So the line about the presidents was kind of bore out by Tony Petitti right until it wasn't. Because when he mentioned the four new schools in his opening remarks, Oregon, USC, Washington, and UCLA, one of the first things out of his mouth was we added those four AAU schools. Now, Clemson and Florida State don't have that designation yet. Clemson, however, has launched an initiative to work to try to get AAU status. And I don't anticipate Florida State being that far behind. Yeah. So, you find plenty of pushback in the comment section. They're not AAU. They can't get added. Well, Nebraska's not AAU. They are in the Big Ten Conference, so it's not a requirement. It's just a preference. And if these schools are making efforts to move along those lines, then yeah, I think the consideration is going to be given. So when Petitti went on to talk about football, or when he went on to talk about criteria for new members in the league, Drake, tell me who this applies to. Football pedigree, your brand, your television viewership, and your academic status. I noticed that football was first. Now, if you are talking about seeing value in adding new universities to your conference, and you're mentioning football first, and he said, we're not even trying to hide the ball, that football is driving the bus, that football is funding a lot of other elements of college athletics, which we all know to be true, or at least I hope we do by now. How could you get more valuable than Florida State and Clemson? The only answer is Notre Dame. That's the only answer. But if the criteria in order are football pedigree and capability for success, both programs I think are set up to do that. The brand/television market that gets the viewership that you bring into the league, and then your academic standing. Well, guess what? Florida State and Clemson suddenly become very appealing, and so I don't think it's a coincidence that both Sankey and Petitti, whilst trying to tamp down the notion that they would want Florida State and Clemson, that they're being aggressive. Greg Sankey said, I'm not a recruiter. We're not doing X, Y, and Z and such. I loosely follow it, but not super closely. The fact that they both came back with the line, we are focused on our 16 members, or we're focused on our 18 members, leads me to believe both are open and they are monitoring the situation. And I think what they're going to look to do is almost like a reverse appeal. Or a reverse recruitment of these schools, of like which conference could get Florida State and Clemson for cheaper, or who could get the better deal, but not necessarily seeing them as the prize, seeing them as, they are the prize. The conferences are the prize. So who can, put themselves out there less, or cut into their media rights distribution in a less than the other league, and have that be the appeal. I hope that all made sense.
Free agency is what it sounds like. I've been watching Hard Knocks.
Kind of. But the free agents are appealing, and I think the duality of their comments of we're not aggressively looking to expand, we're focused on our members, we want to do this, well, also that clearly leaves the door open, and you don't have to go back and say, you don't have to walk back any comments or anything, because you can say, no, I said we were focused on our 16 members, and we were, and then this opportunity became available. I think it could come down to which conference could get the better deal, could have to pay less to get Florida State and Clemson. That's what it might come down to.
On the AAU note, user 42069 on Twitter says that Nebraska will be kicked out of the Big Ten in exchange for Texas A&M within the week. So just wanted to keep that note there, AAU-wise. Moving forward into it's one of my favorite.
Drake, do you remember that education policy that the Bush administration enacted long ago?
Child left behind. Child left behind. Spencer, speaking of child left behind, was Kyle Whittingham left behind here? You got to cover him closely in the Pac-12. He says stuff sometimes where you go, what?
Well, he's a lame duck now too. You got to think about that. He's not going to be at Utah past the 2025 football season, right? He might coach 2025. I think that is the latest that he is the Utah football head coach. I think it's more likely he retires after this year, but I could see him doing 2025. I'd say I feel 60% confident that he will retire after 2024. I am 85% confident he retires after 2025.
I think you're on it. I think you're on it.
Yeah, and so I wonder if that's coming into the comments that he'll make, but I don't think that this is that crazy of a notion.
Okay.
To say that there's going to be an SEC Big Ten breakaway, they're going to have 2 super leagues. This is not the first time we've ever discussed that on a show like this. This is not the first time the idea has been tossed around. Like, this is a concept that, first of all, I would not be a fan of. We've had too much realignment. Calm the heck down and just let everything exist. Like, it's like with the expanded playoff. Okay, we go to a 12-team format, and you'll already hear conversations or discussions that happen at the highest levels about, well, we're going to go to a 14-team format. I'm like, hold on, time out, ref, I need time. Okay, we haven't even seen a 12-team playoff yet.
Not once.
We've talked about it. Not a single solitary time have we had 12 teams that can technically play for a national championship, even though there are only 5 to 6 every year that could actually do it. Like, we're going to have the 12th team in there, the Group of 5 champ, pretending that they could win a national championship. And it's cute. It's adorable. It's fun. I love it. But, well, not really. But anyway, so I just wish that sometimes with these moves and decisions, we could just see how this works out first. And that, like, if you're making a new recipe, Drake, and there are a lot of complex elements, like say there are 3 elements to a dinner plate that you're trying to put together, why don't you work on the first 2 before you try and master all 3, cooking all 3 at the same time? Like, make sure you can cook 1, which you probably can, but make sure you can cook 2 at the same time and still have the meat cooked correctly and the proper texture on the risotto before you also try to make a simultaneously complicated vegetable to put on that plate of dinner food. And yes, I am incredibly hungry as I record the show.
If you don't pay attention to the Brussels sprouts, they'll get away from you real fast. They'll get away from you real fast.
Exactly. Like, let somebody else prepare the Brussels sprouts. Have a sous chef in the kitchen who you can trust. But right now, your focus needs to be on getting the meat right and getting the risotto texture down, because those 2 things are not easy, and you need to make sure it's good, or the plate's going to get sent back to the kitchen.
Wow, that's a great segue into the Big 12, having a Heisman Trophy winner whose last name is not Sanders. That's next on Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. You know what I love about FanDuel is that I am one of the worst fans of all time of just like sports teams in general at the pro level. I will go and bet against the Texas Rangers. So if they win, they're my favorite team. They won, congrats. But I bet against them, so I lose money. But they won, so I pay for them to win. But then when they do win, when they do lose, I win money at FanDuel. FanDuel is hooking all customers up with a booster or bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Be a bad fan who likes money at FanDuel if you want to. Head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer. You see Bobby Witt Jr., And you go like, I think he's going to have a home run today. Nick Castellanos. You put $10 on it, and bam, home run. There's $45 in your pocket if it's plus 450 at FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Visit FanDuel.com today to bet on your favorite MLB player, prop, team, parlay. Do it all at FanDuel.com.